Good morning and welcome to the EZFX signal trading room for 2016, July 21st, Thursday. My name is Bradley Freed, and in the next 20 to 30 minutes, we're going to go through our watch list, review the trades we're watching, review the trades we're in, and we'll check the charts and I'll give you any updates required to continue to manage or get into these trades. If you have questions, we have a chat room on this page. Please go to the chat room and post your questions, and I will answer them live at the end of this broadcast. If you're watching the recording, please feel free to ask a question to the trading room group, or private message me via the community, or you can always send me an email at ezfxsignal@gmail.com. Let's get started. First of all, let's review the list for yesterday. We were watching the euro dollar buy and pound dollar buy. Our new trades were the dollar yen sell and also the Swiss yen sell and the euro yen sell. And we were waiting for a trend line break to confirm the entry on those pairs. We also have a trade we're watching, the New dollar buy, where we've also been watching. Open trades of the dollar peso buy, Aussie dollar sell, euro Newsy buy, euro pound sell, pound CAD buy, pound Newsy buy, pound Aussie buy, and pound Swiss buy. So let's go to the charts. We'll check these currency pairs and we'll update our list. First of all, I want to jump ahead and let's look at these yen pairs. The overnight, for me anyway, these broke down. They broke our trend line and retraced a bit. So now is a good time to get in these trades. The dollar yen sell. We put a stop right above this Class A zone here. This gives us a required stop of about 127 pips. The first target is the weekly pivot. It's about 211 pips. And for the final profit target, let's update our Fibonacci retracements since this moved higher the last couple days. We can use either the 78.6% retracement level, or you can use last week's weekly pivot, which is a little bit further. I really don't care which one, as long as we have satisfy our risk to reward ratio of 2 to 1 or greater for this trade. But this trade is now open, and it's set up exactly like we like to see it. Let me just describe that in a little greater detail. So we had a sell bubble back here, and a Class A zone defined the first attempt, which stopped out. Then I drew this really nice trend line, which intersected with 1, 2, 3 points. Price kind of walked along here, then went higher, and then it dropped and broke through. So that trend line break is significant. I think it's the start of a retracement downwards, and I'm comfortable getting into a trade. Of course, sizing the position relative to the stop loss risk so that I'm only risking 1% or less of my account. For the newest position, like I said, we had a sell bubble, a new Class A zone, and a trend line break. So we had a trifecta, in essence, 3 things that lined up that gave us an entry. We have greater than 1 to 1 on the risk to reward for the first trade. That first target is less than the 50% retracement, so it's fairly easy to hit. And then we have a profit extension target down at last week's weekly pivot. And since this is an election bump in a country that has really crappy fundamentals, and there's really nothing behind this to support it, it wouldn't surprise me if it retraced all the way back down to retest the lows down at 100. The euro yen and the Swiss yen, same thing. Bubble, in this case a Class B zone, trend line break, trifecta. And the first target is going to be, for risk to reward ratio purposes, the 50% retracement level. But let's update that level. We made a little higher high here before the drop. Yeah, so 114.657, I feel comfortable with that as the first profit target. You can use the monthly pivot, but it's a little bit short. I mean, it's only a 38.2% retracement. I think you can stretch a little and go for the 50. The 50 is not a hard stretch to get to. And then for the final profit target also on this, 78.6% retracement level or the weekly pivot at 112, what is it? 112.207. Finally, the Swiss yen. This is also open. Same thing. We had a bubble. It repainted a little bit, so the bubble kind of disappeared, but we did have a bubble. I marked it. This line will drop, and we'll see the bubble more clearly after it changes color as a trailing indicator, provided this continues to move lower. Class B divergence, Class B supply zone, trend line break. So there were really four things here that confirmed the entry. Again, another textbook setup for this trade. Doesn't mean it's going to be a winner, but it does mean it's exactly what we're looking for when we're looking to find a winner, and it's exactly what we look for in testing. For your first profit target here, you really have a choice. We have a monthly pivot, we have a weekly pivot, we have a 50% retracement level. Let me update the Fibonacci's because it went a little bit higher since the last time. And let's just set it at the 50% retracement level again. It's a little bit beyond the monthly pivot. The monthly pivot is always a safe target. Price tends to get there, and if it was going to hit something and then bounce up again, that might be it. But it might go through too. And again, this is a post-election bump in the price. People expecting stimulus, people expecting more of what Prime Minister Abe started at the beginning of his first term, which was devaluing the yen. But I could be wrong, but I think maybe the Bank of Japan has thrown this a kitchen sink at it. I don't think they have any room to do it again like they did a few years ago. So fingers crossed, but I think this is probably going to retest 100 again. And then finally, again, the weekly pivot of the 78.6 retracement level for your final profit target. And I'm going to mark all three of these as open. I am going to send out signals on these as soon as the broadcast is over. Next, let's look at the New Zealand dollar buy. This was also interesting. It hit our trend line again and bounced and went down. So this is a great trend line. It has a wick poking through here. I'm not going to adjust it relative to this wick because it seems to be reacting to this line so well. Here you can see it just walked down the line and left wicks all along it, and then it dropped, left a gap, and then it returned and bounced off that line. So when it breaks and closes above this line, I'm fairly confident that this has a lot of meaning. It did start to set up a buy bubble here. We have Class B divergence. If we had a close above this trend line, I would buy it. Put a stop below the recent low, and targets could be like the monthly pivot and this weekly pivot here. I'd also redraw my Fibonacci levels at that point and see if we could even target a 50% level and a 78.6% level. But in this case, depending again on the risk to reward ratio at the time of the entry, monthly pivot, weekly pivot look good to me. And I just deleted my pivots by accident. Let's put those back. Okay, so we're still waiting on this. It is still a new trade, and we're waiting for one more thing to get in. So it is a trade that's new. It's not something we're watching. It's something that's pending, and we want to get in that. Let me jump back a little bit. Let's look at the euro dollar and the pound dollar because we haven't looked at those yet. I wanted to look at things that were happening right now first. Euro dollar trade, again, we have nothing firm setting up. We had Class B divergence. We have no bubbles. We have no shift in the in the direction of the triangular moving average yet. We have no zones. So this is really still, it broke out of a range a little bit. It's back in the range. it needs to do something a little bit more extreme before it's really going to set up something that's tradable, either to produce a zone or to produce a bubble or something that tells us that it's overextended and it's going to move in the other direction. So we're still waiting on this to react to something. Pound dollar buy, same kind of thing. This pair had a sell bubble, the triangular moving average changed color, but it's really ranging. There's nothing exciting happening here. It hasn't done anything extreme that it's going to react to and move another way. Price is just kind of lollygagging along without any specific direction or momentum. So I'm watching this pair because I like to trade it, but there's nothing imminent setting up that I'm willing to build a trade around. Jumping down to the dollar peso buy, that's an open trade or was an open trade. This has gotten to its first profit target, so we can move the stop to break even, take partial profit. It did that back here, but now it's actually closed above it. So our trend is continuing, and we're going to go for our final profit target at this supply zone up here, 18.89711. And this is in good order, moving right along. Aussie dollar sell. This trade has produced a close signal. We have a class A zone. We have, and that's a classic signal there. I think the triangular moving average looks like it's going to change color. So instead of trying to go for this second profit target, let's go ahead and close this trade. We got in up here after a class A zone appeared. We had 124 pips at the first target, and right now we have 148 pips sitting on the table. So let's go ahead and close that out. Call that a win. Plus 148. And for those of you who are backtesting this system, especially those of you who purchased the course, you will find that when these appear, if there's a really strong trend, we may try to push through one or two of them, and then like on the third one, maybe take profit, and then we get a lot of profit extension out of the trade. But they are very reliable. The earliest indication that a trend is ended and a reversal is pending. So especially after we get to the first profit target and one appears, unless there's just a really massive trend that's appearing in. And in the case of this pair, look what it's been doing. I mean, it's been kind of ranging upwards in a trending direction. So I think it's telling us it's ready at this point. It's going to be the new low, and it's going to move up. And so my preference would be to close that out at this point and start planning a buy trade. We have a class A zone. We'd be looking for one more thing. We don't have a buy bubble. We don't have a triangular moving average color change. But if any of those things happened, especially a triangular moving average color change, I'd be willing to buy the pair instead of a buy trade on this. So closed it out. The sell, I'm going to go ahead and put the buy as something I'm watching for. And just call it new. Let's look at the Euro newsy. This trade is over. It hit the profit target. You can trend follow this trade. The triangular moving average hasn't changed color yet. We do have a sell bubble here that appeared. I'll mark that for clarity and so we can remember where it happened, because these indicators repaint. Okay, so and that gives us from the point of entry down here, that's right, it came down and kind of bounced on the zone. We had about 81 pip stop. The first target we took 397, and at this final target, go ahead and close it out with 640. So the Euro newsy buy is closed. Onto the euro pound sell. The pound pairs made a nice move down. They're kind of retracing a little bit again. I shifted to the 4-hour chart just because it's interesting. If you know our rules, then you know that we look for bubbles and the triangular moving average color change, trend line breaks, class A. If you look on the 4-hour chart, we also have a sell bubble, triangular moving average color change, class A supply zone, trend line break. All these things are really visible. It's kind of really easy to see too where this trade might be going, that this may end up in a breakdown that goes all the way back to down here. That's kind of what I keep thinking looking at this. It's a classic head and shoulders pattern. I never trade head and shoulders, but you do see head and shoulders a lot when things set up like this, especially after a big move. So I'm really interested in just holding on to this and seeing how far it'll go. Back on the 1-hour time frame where we're actually managing this trade, it's kind of moving sideways. It made a new low. It hasn't broken this low down here. That's really where I want to see it go next. I'd like to see it hit this, punch through this demand zone, and make a new low. And that would be a sign to me that the trend is resuming and that we're going to continue towards our second profit target. Still open, still holding on to it. Pound CAD. Let me scroll back a little bit. Pound CAD, same deal. 4-hour chart, very clear. Head and shoulders. Looking for it to break higher towards this monthly pivot. It might go all the way back up here, though. If you think back to last year with the Swiss, when it crashed, over the next several weeks, it returned all the way to the point where it, in fact, we can just look at that. Let's go to the dollar Swiss real quick and scroll back. We'll go to a daily and scroll back. And there it is, January 2015, we had this drop. And by March, it had, so basically a month and a half later, it had pretty much returned to the place where it was before it dropped. Then it fell off again. But I kind of expect to see something like this happen with Brexit. I've heard other people say this. I'm not the only one thinking this. So holding on to it even for several weeks would be just a profitable thing to do. In as much as it's hit 35-year lows in a lot of uncertainty, and anything that happens post-Brexit that kind of gives people some understanding of what the new status quo is going to be, gives them some sense of certainty. It's going to firm up the market. It's going to raise the value of the currency. That's the fundamental argument for this trade and holding on to it. Back to the. See, we're not trading the dollar Swiss. I just want to show that as an illustrative example. Pound Newsy, same thing. On the 4-hour chart, you can see head and shoulders moving higher towards this target here, the monthly pivot, and it may go even all the way to where it started to drop on Brexit Day. They should just call it Brexit Day. Sort of like Pearl Harbor Day or something like that. Pound Aussie, except nobody attacked Britain. Britain attacked itself, which is kind of hilarious and sad at the same time. Okay, Pound Aussie buy. Again, head and shoulders on the 4-hour, really visible. We didn't have a bubble really, at least not to this point, but we did have everything else. We had trend line break. We had a class A zone down here, and we had a color change in the triangular moving average that have all confirmed that this is changing into a buy direction that may persist quite a while, even all the way up to here, which would be, just a massive amount of pips when you think about it. If we got all the way back up to here, it would be 2,000 pips. So yeah, I'd be interested in holding on to that. I don't really care if I'm in the trade for a long time, especially if my stops are at break even. They aren't yet on the Pound Aussie, but we're getting closer to that first target. If we shift down to the management time frame, it made a new high. It dropped back. Makes one more new high, one more pulse up, it might hit that first target, and then we'll be able to move the stop to break even, take part of the profit off the table, and then we're essentially playing with the house's money, trying to hold on to this and extend that profit as far as we can as the pound pairs recover. Finally, the Pound Swiss, We've got 4-hour chart, head and shoulders, class A, triangular moving average color change, a buy bubble, and then it started to move upwards. And we recovered off this retracement here that made a low yesterday, and now it's dropped back again. But we're kind of ranging now, and if it breaks out of this range, breaks through this zone, makes a new high, then the trend is resuming, and we'll see it move higher. Stop is at break even, so we're playing to the house's money. No risk on the table. Partial profit already taken. This is a very, very nice place to be on a move like this. Okay, well, that's all the updates I have. We closed a couple trades, took some profit. We're doing pretty good this week. We have 800 pips on the pound yen, 148 on the Aussie dollar, 640 on the Euro Newsy. I'm going to send out some signals on the yen pairs and the Newsy dollar. Let's not forget about the Newsy dollar. This is going to happen. And when it happens, I'm going to send out a signal. And I think it may be a pretty good trade. So this is the thing I'm probably most excited about right now that hasn't happened yet. Okay, well, those are all the updates I have for you today at this point in time. Let's check the chat room. We don't have anybody attending today live. If you do have a question, please go to the community, post to the trading room group, or private message EZFX, which is me. And you can also email me, as always, at ezfxsignal@mark@gmail.com. Have a good day, everybody. We're off tomorrow, but we're back on Monday. Any questions you have on the weekend about the course, about trading, about the signals, anything, please contact me via one of the methods available to you. The community group, the private messaging on the community, or by email. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you next Monday. Bye-bye.